Well, welcome to the show. I'm Brendan.
I'm Corey, and this is Our View from the Bench.
Welcome back, benchwarmers. It's about that time of year. The NFL season is on its way back, and the draft is here.
And tonight we're going to be doing a live mock draft covering the entire first round to get you up to speed. I'm Corey, draft card writer.
And I'm Brendan, Goodell's loudest booing fan, and this is Our View from the Bench. Before we get started, if you're not already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss any one of our new episodes.
And if you could also please do us a favor, if you like what you hear or see here, please smash that like button.
Smash it. It's free. It's free for both of us, and it helps us out a lot more than you probably think.
Absolutely.
All right, Corey, it is time, dude. It's the best time of the year, which is anytime we get to talk about the NFL and all of that is football.
Yep.
It's April 22nd to be exact. Earth Day. Happy Earth Day, by the way.
Happy Earth Day.
Woo, love the Earth. Great place to live. Highly recommend.
As long as it's still here, I always love it.
I'll be here. So yeah, dude, I'm super excited. This is the Our View from the Bench 2024 NFL mock draft. We're literally going to basically kind of together. We're not going to do here, there. We're gonna each have a designated pick. We're gonna have odds and evens. Corey's going to be the odd picks. I'm going to be the even picks. But really, we're gonna have feedback and input from both of us on each of them. Just one of us is going to make the final decision to make it a little bit easier instead of us having to sit here for hours debating on who should be picked. So we have split this draft into two for viewing purposes, basically. So this right here is the first half, part one. Let's get it, man.
You know, before we get started, it also does help
Okay.
and make it a little bit more exciting when both our teams we root for are in the top 10 of the picks.
That does. I mean, it's not fun in the sense that we want our teams there, but it makes this part definitely more fun.
Right.
And it's honestly a little bit of why we ordered it the way we did. And you can see, well, we have some even teams that I might like and an odd team or so that Corey might like. So, but that's not where we're starting. We're not just picking for our teams. We're going to do the whole first round. So without delaying any further, let's get into it. This is the PFF draft simulator. I found this tool the other day. I thought it was really freaking cool. I highly recommend PFF for pretty much everything. We get almost all of our stats from them, especially the next gen stats, I guess you could say, as like Amazon and the AWS, because they really break it down. They give grading to people because they watch the game and know what to watch a little bit more than I do. I never really played it. Love watching it. Super fan, but PFF highly recommend. So let's get going.
Let's do it.
All right, Corey, you are on the clock. I know that you don't
gosh.
want Caleb Williams, so who do you want instead?
Could you imagine if Chicago actually came out and didn't take him? I think the whole world would be shocked. I can't.
Dude, trade Justin Fields. You got everybody ready, and then they're just like Marvin Harrison Jr. It's like, what?
Add a third receiver with no quarterback to throw the ball. Yeah, that would be quite the thing. No, this is a dumb deal. I think everybody knows what's going to happen here. The Bears are going to come out, and even if they know they're going to take him, they're still going to use up the entire time on the
whole clock.
It's so annoying. I hate that the NFL does that.
Why?
I don't know.
Why?
It's stupid. They're not going to trade this big. They're going to keep it. It wasn't even theirs to begin with. They got it because of the Carolina trade last year. The Chicago Bears will be taking quarterback Caleb Williams in the first round as the first pick overall. No doubt in my mind.
Caleb Williams drafted. All right. Moving on. That puts Washington on the clock. I am going to be picking for them. They are a sorry team who recently traded away Sam Howell.
Yeah.
So they are looking for a quarterback as well. Now, Sam Howell actually wasn't terrible. I know he led the league in yards and completions, I think all the way up until like week 16 or 17, possibly the entire way through. But he didn't really amount to any wins. I mean, I know you can't lay wins on everything on the quarterback, but this league does. So you are out and in with a new. I'm kind of torn. I know that they're taking a quarterback, so we're going to narrow it down to that.
Absolutely.
And I know the two that they're really leaning to, between are Drake May and Jaden Daniels. I personally would take Jaden Daniels. I think anything in the SEC translates a little bit more than anything in the ACC, especially when it comes to football. So I personally would take Jaden Daniels. The only caveat is, and I've heard a lot of people talk about this, is Sam Howell went to North Carolina as well. So, and Sam Howell didn't do terrible last year. So why get rid of him at least maybe make him fight for the position. You got a decent backup who knows the offense. If in case,
Very
God
true.
forbid, something happened to your starting quarterback, why get rid of him unless you don't want another North Carolina battle? I'm sure there's a reason why Drake May was waiting and Sam Howell was playing and then graduated, went to the NFL. And I don't know if they really want to be back in that position. So something is kind of telling me that they're going to take Drake May.
Okay.
And so that's what I'm going to have them pick. I personally, however, would take Jaden Daniels, but this is a mock draft. In my opinion, I believe Drake May will be with a second pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. The Washington Commanders select Drake May.
Man, new ownership, new coach, new way of thinking. That's a whole new ball game over in Washington.
Yep. All right, you're on the clock, man, with 3.
All right. Well, New England is kind of in the same boat. New coach, especially a young coach at this point, not like Dan Quinn in Washington. So you would think Mayo, also being a former linebacker, is going to be a defensive-minded coach as well. So you're going to need a quarterback to get them some points and give them an opportunity to hopefully win some games, which they haven't done in a while. I mean, this is the highest New England has made a pick in probably, the last 25 years?
Yeah, I was going to say since they drafted Tom Brady, maybe. Yeah.
It's just crazy that they're this high. But yeah, I think you're right. It's quarterback for sure. I know initially, at least last week or so, McCarthy keeps rising up all these boards, but I still think, like you said, Jaden Daniels is a guy who won a Heisman Trophy for a reason, played in the SEC, and not only that, he transferred from ASU in the Pac-12 to the SEC and won a Heisman when he had numbers that were in Pac-12 play, but in the SEC he lit it up and got the trophy. I think that the New England Patriots were going to take Jaden Daniels and start a new regime at quarterback in New England.
And I think they got lucky. If it actually pans out to be this way, and I don't know anything. We all thought everybody thought Ryan Leaf was going to be great, and Jamarcus Russell, and Trey Lance, and the whole nine. Is you never really know. But something about Jaden Daniels, bro. He looks good, man. He looks really good. And the way he can fling it seems really effortless. So,
and he's a mobile quarterback, which in this day and age, that's a huge deal.
Yes, very true, very true. Okay, Cardinals.
Here's your team,
all
sir.
Right.
What are you
4, bro? We got it. We got it. This is our own pick. I was really hoping that we would have a couple high picks towards the end of last year. I did not see CJ Stroud coming in and doing what he did. So our Houston pick, unfortunately, for the first round is not as good. But this is our own pick from this year. This is what I want to do. I want Marvin Harrison. I think Kyler's decent. Now, we have a lot of holes. But I was telling you this yesterday, so I'll quickly run through it. I feel like Marvin Harrison can do for the Cardinals what Jamar Chase did for the Bengals. The Bengals had a lot of holes too, but that motherfucker could get open. So Joe Burrow had somebody to throw it to. Well, I think Marvin Harrison is damn near the second coming of, Marvin Harrison, to be honest with you. He is extremely talented, and he's so up there. I would pick this, but there's way too much talk about the Cardinals trading back, and so that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
I think the Cardinals are going to be trading for somebody who's looking for a quarterback. They want somebody who is top 4. There's a couple of teams that are kind of looking for that. The biggest one that I see is the Vikings.
Yes, absolutely.
The Raiders, and before today, the Broncos. I know they got Zach Wilson. I'm assuming that's a backup plan. That was pretty crazy.
That's a terrible quarterback room overall with those 3 guys they have there right now. Yikes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I do also think that the Giants could be sneaky and maybe take a pick. I don't think they need to move up for it. I don't think they would have to trade up for it, but they might want a quarterback. But I'm going to give this one to the Vikings. There's a lot of talk about this Vikings trade. They're going to hand over 11 and the 23 from this year, which is from Cleveland. We're going to give up the 4.
Maybe a future pick as well in there.
Yeah, maybe this one. Okay, we're going to force this trade. Yesterday when we did this, they were extremely interested in doing it. So I'm unsure what is going on here. We'll give them maybe like a future 5th, something like that, just to kind of give the deal. Yeah. So we're going to force this trade. And with that pick, the Minnesota Vikings are going to select a quarterback. I personally would not do this. I would pick either Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr. I think they're bigger. I think they've had a good amount of experience and a lot of winning. Granted, you could say that J.J. McCarthy has done more winning because he literally beat Michael Penix Jr. in the national championship game. But I think that they're a little bit different. And I wouldn't do it, but I have a feeling the Minnesota Vikings trade up and draft J.J. McCarthy.
Man, he gets to stay in the Northeast too up there and go from Michigan to Minnesota. Yeah, but I'm with you. I wouldn't take him either. I feel like with the weapons that they already have in Minnesota and Jefferson and Jordan Addison, who they drafted last year as a wide receiver, like Bo Nix is a guy who is a mobile quarterback and can throw the ball. I mean, they score a bunch of points in Oregon. Not that
Yeah.
Mariota didn't do the same and wasn't great in the NFL, but he had a good
Okay.
little run there in
Valid.
Tennessee at one
Yeah.
point. So
Yeah.
I mean, he did go
Good
to a
comparison,
playoff
though.
game and win in Kansas City and throw a touchdown to himself on
To
average.
himself. Yeah, that was freaking fantastic. Very true. Very true. Okay, so there's been a lot of the J.J. McCarthy talk. He's been hyped up by Jim Harbaugh. Is all of that to basically get a completely clear opening for whoever he wants in the entire draft because the first 4 picks are quarterbacks?
I mean, yeah, you would think. And again, Harbaugh's working the system, and now he's got the 5th pick overall with the Chargers. They just traded and let go Mike Williams and who they
Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen. Thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
you're gonna need somebody to throw the and Austin Eckler left from the backfield. So you're
Yep.
gonna need somebody to create some offense and throw to for Herbert. And I think at the top of the list, Marvin Harrison Jr. makes the most sense. And what better place than L.A. for him to end up?
Well, yeah, it's not probably the LA most would want him on.
True.
Obviously, the Rams are the bigger name in town. But with Harbaugh
I was gonna
there,
say though, yeah, with
the
Harbaugh.
Chargers might be turning things around, right?
We're gonna see.
I'm hoping so.
I
I'm
hope so too because
trying to be a Chargers fan.
I like the Chargers as a kid. We didn't have an NFL team here for a long time, obviously. So my dad and I would go down to San Diego every year, probably from like 6th grade to maybe probably graduating high school. Every year we went down for a game and got to see other awesome teams and even LT and Breeze and then Rivers when they had Gates too out there for a while, but could never get over the hump. So
Yeah.
maybe this is the start of some offensive building for the Chargers. And again, Harbaugh tends to win everywhere he goes. So
Yeah, very true. And quickly. We'll see how quickly he can turn it around here, though.
back.
All right. The New York Giants are on the clock here. This is another one. They've got a handful of needs. I have a feeling that they're going to. Yeah, seriously. They need one of 2 things, in my opinion. I believe they're going to ride with Daniel Jones again. They're going to see if they're going to give Brian Dable. I don't think they're giving Brian Dable one more chance. I think they're giving Brian Dable one more chance to fix Daniel Jones, and then Daniel Jones will be gone if it goes bad this year. Because I think Brian Dable is a good coach. So there's 2 things that you need. You need to protect him because the motherfucker has to throw it within a second because his line is average or below.
Yep.
I need someone to throw it to. We looked up their depth chart for their wide receiver room yesterday.
Don't know anything.
I know one person. It was Darius Slayton, and I don't think he's that good. And I don't mean that he's a great NFL player because he's in the NFL. He's a better football player than I am. I get that. But if I'm being honest here, he's not. He's a 3 on some teams.
Yeah.
So they need a wide receiver, and I believe that's what they go for. None other than Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, these 2 big ones. Maybe they take a stretch and take Brian Thomas because I know Brian Thomas is like the big top over the top guy, but I have a feeling they play a little bit safer and play it smart. Yeah. Giants take Malik Neighbors.
It's a good pick. Yeah, they're going to, and you mentioned the offensive line not being good there either, but when we talked about Saquon Barkley leaving for Philly, that was one of the things that he went from the Giants, who he could never get any time to get from beyond the backfield, to Philly, where he's going to have a ton of time to get out of there because their line is much better. But part of that is if you're the Giants, you got to get the ball out of the hands quickly and down the field somehow too, and not just with the running game. So adding a weapon for Jones, I think, is the best idea.
Yeah, Saquon was almost best as a passer because he was a nice little outlet because Daniel Jones was constantly under pressure. So, yeah, couldn't agree more. All right, it's your turn. Your team, your turn.
Now, I went back and forth. We talked about it earlier. If this was me running the draft for the Titans, I would probably trade back just a couple spots because I feel like they need offensive linemen, and I get that. And you look at the list of the top offensive linemen available, and Joe Alt is the top pick.
Let's go to that.
Notre Dame. Everyone's been talking about him. But then Fuaga from Oregon State is pretty high up in the rankings. And I feel like if you're the Titans, if you can, like, you look at the teams behind you, Atlanta, they could use an offensive lineman, but it's not a pressing need for them. Chicago, they seem to think they have the offensive line. Maybe they're one that could. And I would even think about trading back with the Cardinals, letting the Cardinals get back up a little higher and having another option. And again,
I like that pick.
Right. And when it comes to draft picks, if you can get more capital because of the trading back and forth, if you're both like us, the Titans and Cardinals, we need a lot of things to help us get better. So that's what I was thinking. But I don't.
When we talked yesterday, though, right? I said 2 things. One was, everyone could always use a good offensive line.
Yeah, that's what can.
Even if you have the best line ever, right? And 2, who needs to trade up with you? if
Yeah.
there's plenty of teams who could, right? But who needs to? Because obviously, if you're going down, you're going to get something extra.
Yeah.
So those are my kind of can't. You have a great point in wanting to trade back. I agree with that, especially because if you think Fuaga is going to be dang near what Alt is, and you can get Fuaga at average draft position is 14 as opposed to 7 needed to get Alt, well then shoot, do it. You know what I noticed? Fuaga, Fatanu, and Fashanu.
Oh wow, that is weird.
All in a row.
Never noticed that until you point out. And the other thing
Yeah.
too, I thought about when thinking about trading back, and maybe if you get Fuaga instead, it's not the worst thing. They did bring in Brian Callahan to be the offensive line
Yeah.
coach, and there's been all this talk of the last few years in Cleveland. He was like one of the best offensive line coaches in the NFL. So what's the first or second guy in the offensive line positioning out of the draft? Like, if he's a guru,
can we make him as good as the first?
Exactly. So what's the big
Yeah.
difference? So, but your points were there's nobody that really needs to trade up with you at that point because all the main quarterbacks have been taken. We all think Bo Nix and Penix are going to drop down, so teams are willing to wait. So at the end of the day, I think what the Titans are going to do is try to get an offensive line to protect Will Levis, who now has DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley, and we have Spires as the young running back, and we brought in Pollard from Dallas. So you're going to need somebody protect to help him be good as a young quarterback and hopefully the quarterback of the future. I hope so. So I think they're ultimately going to take Joe Alt. And, it does help that his dad was a former NFL lineman. So there is some idea of what he's getting himself into by coming into the league.
Yes. And yes. I think that's all. I think you're right about all of it, to be honest with you. I think they're going to take Joe Alt, protect the package. You're hoping that it's the quarterback of the future, like you just said. Mm-hmm. So you got to protect what you got. And what better way than obviously getting people open, but you've done that for them already. Yeah. Hopkins and Ridley, that's freaking great. Nice little backfield too. Now build up the offensive line, and this team's going to be ready to roll. So, like the pick. And you guys that's lucky. The best offensive lineman falling to 7th in the draft normally doesn't happen. I mean, the Cowboys have had to trade up and try to get high picks. They've gotten some of their best guards in top 10s. So falling to 7, top 5, a lot of people are reaching for a quarterback this year. So that's a pretty good pickup.
Yeah. Like I said, I think for the long term, it'll be the best thing that the team wants. So I'm in it. It's not my decision. So that's where we're going.
All right, Falcons are on the clock. They need a quarterback. They didn't just pay $180 million to Kirk Cousins. Oh, wait, they did. You see Kirk Cousins throughout the first game at the Braves game the other night?
Yeah, I did actually. I saw him getting interviewed during the
right down the middle, bro.
Yeah, I saw him getting interviewed on like their broadcast during like the 3rd or 4th inning when I was watching the game on MLB inning yesterday.
Yeah, that was cool. I like Kirk, bro. We talked about it from the quarterback series. I just think he's a cool guy. But this is what I'm going. They're going defensive line. They need defensive line help. And they literally just got the defensive coach.
Yep. Raheem Morris. Yep, makes sense.
And Raheem Morris. So they're going to be going up. There's a couple people that I know that are pretty high in the ranking. Laiatu Latu from UCLA and Dallas Turner coming out of Alabama. Anybody from Alabama is kind of somebody you're looking for. Yeah. I have a feeling that they keep it close like that. I don't know. Maybe the only thing this is okay. This is what I think. This is the reason why they can go for both. Dallas Turner from Alabama. He's from Alabama under Nick Saban. Win. You're also very close. Georgia and Alabama are very close. He's maybe a hometown kid, right?
Yep, okay. Very true. Very true.
However, Laiatu Latu is also extremely highly rated. Didn't play in the SEC, but where did Raheem Morris just recently coach?
The Rams. Yeah.
What city is that in? LA. So he's really close to UCLA, is what you're saying, and might have maybe seen this guy a lot at practice and stuff like that. For that reason, I have a feeling he has maybe some sort of insider something that he sees, and him being highly ranked. I do think that Byron Murphy or Dallas Turner could jump. So if it's one of those, then so be it. I'm picking Laiatu Latu. All right. You there?
Can you hear me now? Okay, there we go.
Yes.
I don't know what happened with my mic there for a second. I'm surprised you went with Latu because I feel like the Alabama thing made the most sense. Again, SEC guys tend to just kick ass and do everything right. And my only like concern, I guess, with Latu is when he was at Washington, they basically told him like you have an injury that you need to like stop playing football and retire. So he kind of medically retired for a short period of time. Now he's been great at UCLA, but that's just if I think if you're unless they did the medical checks and they feel comfortable with him. But I think that's one thing that's going to be brought up with him a lot during this draft process.
Gotcha. So he probably falls then. Yeah, he probably falls. But I have a weird, I don't know, maybe some inkling of the,
Who's your insider? Who you got?
I'm just saying the LA connection. Some people be liking like that. You know what I mean?
True. That's true.
All right, Bears back up.
Oh man, Bears. Okay, so you have your quarterback. You already have 2 wide receivers. You have a solid tight end, and you brought in Gerald Everett as the backup tight end. So you don't really need a whole lot of offense right now. So, man, I wish they would need a tight end because Bowers would be great, but I don't think that's where they're going. They're
Trade?
I mean, if I'm Chicago, you already got your quarterback and have some weapons. A trade would not be a terrible idea. Again, who is going to need to trade up though with you? Because again, there's 2 quarterbacks left with Bo Nix and Penix, and if you look at the Jets next, I don't see them taking a quarterback. You have Rodgers, unless you want to have somebody sit on the bench like Packers tend to do, but you don't want to piss off Aaron Rodgers. We know how that worked out in Green Bay. Cardinals already have their quarterback with Murray, so the next team that needs a quarterback would really be the Broncos or the Raiders. So.
Hey, the Raiders try to jump over the Broncos.
That actually would be really nice if the Raiders did that. Yeah, and then if they feel good about either Penix or Bo Nix, that would be the way to go. If I'm Vegas, I almost said Oakland. Forget about Vegas.
Okay, so is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, let's trade with Vegas. I think that's what's going to end up happening. So
giving up 44, or what else are you giving up?
Let's see. Yeah,
you're only going up 4 spots.
Yeah, so 77 would be good because if you're the Bears, you get another pick in that 3rd round. Yeah, that's probably 77. And if you're the Bears, you probably give up another late rounder for next year just to give them a little. But I wouldn't give them, 5 or 6 round maybe just to give them a little something.
Okay, it says it would be accepted just like this.
Oh well, then just take it if that's what they're going to do. Let's take it.
All right. Raiders are on the clock now. So with the 9th, who the Raiders taking?
I'm just the Bo Nix or Penix. I think Bo Nix is where they go. I think he's a little more mobile and hasn't had as many injury issues as
True.
Penix had.
Literally, Penix ended the season last year on a freaking injury.
Yeah, so. Right, with the hit with the bruised
his shoulder or ribs. Yeah, ribs.
Yeah, he's barely breathing on the field. So yeah, I think they go Bo Nix, and there's no pressure to make him necessarily start because they brought in Gardner Minshew to be the backup of O'Connell. So it'll be a competitive camp for Bo Nix, but if you ultimately need some time to sit on the bench and learn, I don't think it's the worst thing, especially because the Raiders are going to be a defensive-minded team and they want to run the ball anyway with Antonio Pierce being there now. But Marvin Lewis being a coordinator or, specialist to help them would definitely be a positive for Bo Nix to learn and kind of groom himself to really take over maybe mid-season, if not before the season even gets started in camp.
Yeah, I like it. I like the pick. I think the Raiders do need to move up for somebody. Get who you want. If you're not going to try to take one of the guys at the top, get who you want that's in that second. Don't let him try to hope that he falls because there's a lot of QB needy teams that are above you. So you might as well just try to jump it.
Yep, got to jump it as soon as you can.
All right. Jets are on the clock. Well, this is what they should do. They should draft Fuaga from Oregon State. But what they're going to do is get a shiny new weapon for Aaron Rodgers.
Makes sense.
I believe they should probably go either Odunze or Bowers. But a lot of people think Bowers is probably arguably the most pro-ready person in a long time.
Yeah,
I know that's what they said about what the heck is his name?
Talking about Kyle Pitts.
Yes, thank you. Pitts. I know that's what they said about Pitts, but I do feel that was a quarterback problem. I think this year is the test for Pitts. If he does terrible in a Kirk Cousins-led offense, knocking on wood for Kirk Cousins' health, then maybe Pitts isn't who we all thought he was. But I have a feeling that he's going to kind of show out when he's got somebody who's trying to get him the ball. I think they're going to go with Brock Bowers. Thoughts?
Man, he's going to be so good. I mean, he's by far the best tight end in this draft. There's no doubt in my mind. He's a big guy. I feel like he's kind of similarly built to Gronk, where he's a big dude, but he can still run.
He's a little faster than Gronk.
I was going to say he's a quick guy. Seems to be pretty nimble. I know he had an injury and had to come back from
fast,
it. But I think that's a deal. And And again, Rodgers already has a couple other weapons on the offensive side, and a tight end is always the quarterback's best friend, right? That's like the security blanket. If everything else breaks down, you can go to a tight end. And this guy, Georgia does nothing but win, so he's definitely going to be ready for that. And I think the expectations of playing with Rodgers, he won't be afraid of it.
I can see that. I hope so. It's the Big Apple, not the team that everybody actually cares about, but it's still New York.
Yep.
So,
facts.
So gonna be some pressure, but Brock Bowers, he played at Georgia. They won a couple championships. He understands what pressure is. So, and he was like the main, not the main weapon, but one of the main weapons for that offense. So.
Yeah, he was kind of the Kelsey or Gronk of their offense, where he's a tight end, but he does a lot more and is almost basically a wide receiver.
Yep. Cardinals back on the clock, man. Yep.
No trading back this time, I don't think.
Nah. They did make the trade back. They missed out on Marvin Harrison. I believe probably Malik Neighbors. I think those are the two kind of standout receivers of the draft. But I watched a lot of Washington this year. I'm not trying to take over your pick, but
no,
since
it's
the
all
Cardinals,
good.
I'm going to say
right to where
say.
I was going to go anyway.
I saw a lot of Washington this year, and Odunze can play.
Yeah, I think they need a weapon for Murray. You traded back, so you got more picks. You can get other guys and other things filled out in the later rounds. But I think Odunze at the top just makes the most sense. He runs great routes. He's played with a quarterback who can throw the ball, and I think Murray and them, this is their chance to actually give him an actual weapon that's not a guy over the hill that they traded for in the offseason or signed when he's past 30. Like, this is a young kid that Murray can grow with, and I think this is the chance and the time to do it.
Yep, agree. He even had a pretty good score, 71.9 in the national championship game against Michigan. So,
wow,
really good, great against man. He's just a good receiver overall. So I'll be happy with that. Cardinals taking Odunze. Marvin Harrison, a once in a generation, but you really never know how these guys will pan out. So. We'll see who got the best one.
It's not like the Cardinals only need a wide receiver. They need a lot of different things. So by trading back and still getting a top 3 or 4 receiver in the draft and other picks to then add more pieces or fill more holes that you already have to worry about, it's a win-win.
Yep, agreed. Broncos now on the clock. Yeah, I don't know what they do here. I think they have a crowded quarterback room, so I don't believe that's what they're going for.
Although
they've gotten, no, that's true. But the quarterbacks that are left here are Hurt, Penix, Spencer Rattler, who fell off the face of the earth. Other than that, there's not a lot of huge. Tua's brothers down here.
Yeah.
This literally just sent freaking bad memories when I thought of Jake Plummer.
I was just gonna say, I honestly thought that said Jake Plummer. I was like, wait, what?
I was like, what is this? So there's not a ton. I think Michael Penix Jr. is going to be an average or just slightly above average quarterback in the NFL. I don't think he's going to be bad, but I don't know if you need to jump on him at 12 is what I'm saying. So even if you want a quarterback, I don't think anybody's worth it at this draft position. Looks like they need wide receivers, a center, edge rushers, and a corner. I've heard so many good things about Cooper DeJean. This dude is insane. But at the same time, you got Byron Murphy out here. You got Dallas Turner. You got some nice offensive linemen out here.
No, but I think your Cooper idea makes a lot of sense because didn't they just get rid of some of their back end guys on the defensive side? And Iowa, although they didn't ultimately win the Big Ten title game, they were all about defense and not allowing very many points. So if Cooper was a part of that, I think that's a good place to start on the back end.
That's what I'm thinking defense. Too. You got to solidify it. This whole division. Who you got? You got Patrick Mahomes.
That was the next thing I was just going to say.
Justin Herbert, and possibly, according to us, Bo Nix coming up, or even, dude, Aaron. What was it? No, not Aaron. What was his freaking name? Aiden. Thank you, Aiden McConnell. Yeah, they're not terrible quarterbacks. I'm not putting them in the same breath as Patrick Mahomes, but
they're
it's not like
they're NFL quarterbacks. They're capable,
right? You're going to need a corner to cover some top receivers or top tight ends, I guess, if you want to, for Kelsey. So I think this is the pick. And they got lucky. He's probably a top 10 player. They're grabbing at 12, so it's not bad.
Well, it helps when everybody needs a quarterback this year.
Very true. All right, Chicago is back on the clock. Are they trading back, or are they finally going to pick?
No, I think
besides obviously their first pick.
Yeah, no, I think this is finally where they actually, get some kind of defensive lineman. I don't know if it's a defensive end, edge rusher, or in the middle, but I think they're definitely going to have to take advantage of being this high and still having a lot of the defensive guys available since so many offensive weapons have come off the board. And I just always go back to, like we talked about when we did the prep for this, the Alabama just seems to, Alabama and Georgia and the SEC just to tend to print defensive linemen, big dudes that know what they're doing on the field.
Yeah, ask the Eagles.
Yeah. So I think this is where Dallas Turner gets taken and just, I mean, who was the guy that they traded for last year? Ended up leading the league in sacks, but he was on
Montez Sweat.
Yeah, so adding another weapon to go with him, I think, on that defensive line is a great idea for Chicago, especially when you have a young quarterback. Even though their offense on paper looks good, they might need to stop a lot of people. So I think that's where they're going.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's crazy that they were able to get lucky and get Dallas Turner so late in the draft because he's a top 10 kind of player too. Depending on, obviously, it's all dependent on needs and all that kind of stuff, but the talent, I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Saints on the clock. They need a wide receiver. I don't think they're picking quarterback. They missed out on the top one since they didn't trade up. They don't need to rush and get Penix. They got Carr. He's not great, but he's not terrible. So, it is what it is. So, they might need a quarterback, but I'm thinking they take a wide receiver or a tackle. It looks like they could use that.
They need a few things, but that was a good start.
Fuaga. I mean, Fuaga
right there.
Fuaga might be a nice little pickup.
I mean, at 14 is the second best defensive or offensive lineman in the draft rating. That's a hell of a deal.
And if you do want to give Derek Carr some sort of chance, you got to give him some time.
Yes.
And what better way than to draft an offensive lineman? So they need a tackle. We'll give them a tackle.
Tackle it up.
Talise Fuaga to the Saints. 2 more for this episode.
Oh, man. I got the Colts pick. What's
the
last rated player on the draft? What's the last player? No, I'm kidding.
All right, let's see. We're going with.
No, I'm just kidding. No, they actually had a pretty good year. Obviously, if they can have Anthony Richardson healthy this year at quarterback since Gardner Minshew's gone, I think that'll be a huge improvement for them. Unfortunately, they do actually have some decent wide receivers. I don't know if they necessarily need one this high when you can. There's nobody that's like screaming at the top, I think, for them. I think defensive back makes a lot of sense. Again, if you're going to go against C.J. Stroud in the AFC South and still Taylor Lawrence, I'm sorry. And then you're going to Trevor. Why did I say Taylor? Where did I get that?
I don't know.
And then, hopefully Will Levis is doing really good in Tennessee. So you're going to have to play really good defense. And, I mean, right at the top, if you're looking at, again, I go back to the SEC, Alabama, Terry and Arnold. Toledo, Quinion Mitchell is good, but I mean, it's Toledo. I don't know how good their conference is compared. So
I don't know if it was Toledo. They had I think it was Toledo. Cardinals drafted somebody, Xavion something. Oh, shit. And I believe he was from Toledo. Everyone was like, "Oh, you gotta see this guy." I know he played for Toledo, but I don't think he's on our team anymore.
Okay.
So I'm with you. I'm not
told me on that.
Yeah. No, I was so I'm with you. I don't really know about it. Maybe, but what I did was bring up their needs. So wide receiver and DB. So I brought up corner, safeties, and wide receivers. It's kind of like an idea of where you're at here with who's left.
Kool-Aid McKinstry is good, but I think it might be a little too high for him. So
too high for him.
I think Arnold makes the most sense here for the Colts.
Okay,
but as a Titans fan, I hope he sucks.
Yeah. All right, Terry Arnold. They need some defense. Yep. All right. 16th pick with the Seahawks. They need a guard, so let's give them one.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So a lot of times what I've learned when kind of paying attention to these drafts is that interior linemen can kind of translate, and exterior linemen can translate damn near anywhere. But interior, you can go from guard to this guard or center to guard.
They do that
kind of
all
stay
the
like
time.
that. So it doesn't have to be a guard per se. But I also know that they're looking for defense. Everyone's always looking for defense especially when you're playing the Niners. You got Kyler Murray running around like crazy, and Matt Stafford in the Rams offense as well. You need some edge rushers as well. So this is kind of where I think it gets interesting because I think the defense is probably better, and like as far as how. The idea a lot of times is draft best available, not necessarily draft for need. So it kind of depends on what you're looking for. If they happen to match, then fucking even better. But if you have a need, like it looks like they do, I have a feeling they move defense. I feel like they could pick up a guard later. Looks like they, the 20s and the 30s is where most of them are. They're going to have next round pick as well. They got 16 freaking, Oh, this is the only pick of their draft. Ooh.
Yee.
At least of this one.
Yeah.
81. They don't pick until
Oh,
81 again.
man. Well,
yeah, I still think they go defense. Defense wins, right? Defense wins championships, as they try to say. That's basically what the Chiefs did this past year. One of the
plus,
best
isn't
defense, if
their
not the
new
best defense.
coach the former defensive coordinator from Baltimore, right?
Oh yeah, that's very true.
All
That's
right,
very
so
true.
they'll probably be
Oh, yeah.
defensive minded.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with probably an interior lineman here. I think they're gonna run with Byron Murphy.
That's what I was
Texas
gonna
did
say.
make the playoffs last year, so I have a feeling that Byron Murphy probably gonna go to Seattle.
It's a good pick for them. I think that's going to be. I mean, again, with Geno Smith at quarterback, he's just not going to turn the ball over a lot. So you just need somebody to just be, okay with the ball and let the defense take care of things. And like you said, going against the Niners, which is never easy, the Rams offense, which is potent, and who else is in the NFC West? Who am I forgetting in the fourth team? Why can I not think of their other team? Oh, the Cardinals. Duh, Kyler Murray,
Yeah,
and they're going to add a wide
Yep.
receiver, and they're having more weapons. So yeah, I think it makes the most sense to go defensive pick for them for sure.
Yep. Gotta get to the quarterback. That's what
Yes,
everybody
that
needs.
is the
Stop
name
the
of the
run
game.
too. All right, folks. Well, that is the first half. We kind of, like I said, split it up for a little bit easier viewing. Make sure that you check out the second half. We're going to have that episode up just afterwards, but like you said, we kind of split it up for a little bit easier to watch. So we're going to do 17 through 32 there. Make sure you stop by. Thank you, though, for coming by and seeing things from Aubrey from the bench. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Corey. Like we always say, enjoy the sports until we talk again.
Peace.
This was a Sycamore Fourth Studios production.